In this video, I'm going to share with you how I trained for the SAS fan dance, the rucksack I used, the kit I wore, and my nutrition and hydration strategy. So let's wind back the clock to 8 weeks before the big day. I've signed me and my mate Sai up to the challenge, much to his delight, and now it's game on with very little time to prepare. Sai has done this before, so he takes me for a tab over in Aylesbury to get a feel for what it's going to be like, and I get destroyed. My calves and hips were screaming and I was reduced to a slow walk about an hour and a half in. This was my first experience tabbing and clearly I've got work to do. Now before I get into the nitty-gritty of my fan dance training, I want to explain to you my strengths and weaknesses at this point, because it's not like I was starting from scratch. I've trained for years and I've built up a good foundation of functional strength, cardio and mobility, all of which should carry over really well to a challenge like this. So in the weight room, I can split squat with half my body weight in each hand. I can deadlift 2 times my body weight and squat nearly 2 times my body weight for multiple reps. So I'm pretty strong relative to my own body weight. Then there's my aerobic fitness. I actually had my VO2 max tested earlier this year. This is the gold standard test of aerobic fitness and I scored a 53. Which just about puts me into the elite category for my age, which is the top 2.3% of the general population. That's nowhere near an elite endurance athlete, but it's still pretty high. Finally, mobility. I've put a lot of work in over the years using very effective methods, so I have good freedom of movement and my hips feel nicely mobile, which means I can move efficiently without restriction. I guess lastly I should mention I'm a bit of a glutton for punishment. I'm comfortable being uncomfortable and embracing the suck. And I say this because this challenge is as much mental as it is physical. Now for my weaknesses. I did 0 tabbing, rucking, whatever you want to call it, up to this point in time. All my cardio was done on the bike, so I was not well conditioned for it. Also, this is borderline an ultra endurance challenge. Now, I have good cardio, but I'm used to working out for an hour, and this is 3 to 4 or more. My last major weakness was lack of time. By the time I wrote my training plan out, I had 6 weeks to prepare. So I had to be super dialed in, super focused to get as conditioned as possible and give myself the best shot of performing well on the day. With that said, this is what my weekly training split looked like 6 weeks out and how I changed it. So I decreased the weights to 2 sessions and increased the cardio to 4 sessions with a mix of zone 2 and HIIT. The goal of the weight training was to build muscular endurance. So I stuck to fairly high rep ranges, moved at a slow tempo to accumulate lots of time under tension and really fatigue the muscles. This stuff hurts, as you can see on my face. I did some upper body work too, but kept that to a minimum to maintain strength and lean muscle mass. You do want a decent rig to support a heavy weight on your back, but the legs need more attention. The goal of the cardio workouts was to build aerobic efficiency and aerobic output specific to the demands of the challenge. So for my zone 2 workouts, I did incline walking. I would set a treadmill to a 15% gradient and walk at a pace that kept my heart rate at the top end of my zone 2, which for me is between 140 and 150 beats per minute. The duration of these workouts was typically 60 to 90 minutes. For the HIIT sessions, I did 2 different formats. One workout was on the stepper. I did 1 minute fast, 1 minute slow times 5, rest 2 minutes, and then repeated that series 3 more times for a total of 15 work bouts. The other HIIT session was on the incline treadmill, 5 by 5 minutes fast march, followed by 2 minutes of easy walking. These workouts require your mental A game. They are very tough and you've just got to work damn hard to get them done. As I got closer to the challenge, I transitioned some of my cardio workouts outside. I did park runs to get used to shuffling at a quick pace with the loaded Bergen. I did some disgusting hill repeats over at Devil's Dyke in the South Downs and over in Aylesbury. And I did a few 2 to 3 hour tabs, which were the closest thing to what the fan dance was going to be like. These were the most important sessions because they teach you how to pace yourself and how to move efficiently across different terrains and gradients. Now, I'll be honest with you, the first 2 weeks sucked. I had blisters on my feet, swelling of my lower back. I pulled my left groin from my first run. And some of this was to do with kit, which I'll talk about in a bit. But I did manage the training and the recovery really well. And after a couple of weeks, it did turn a corner. I started to feel more resilient, more recovered, more well-conditioned, and my confidence did grow as the challenge was approaching. So that's training. And now let's talk about kit, because the two go hand in hand. I'm wearing exactly what I wore for the fan dance, but it didn't start this way. I actually started with this 90-litre hiking bag, and I was running into all sorts of problems. The first major problem is that I was getting a lot of lower back chafing. It didn't matter how much I fiddled with the position of the bag, it was really rubbing on my lower back, to the point where I had 2 golf ball sized lumps either side of my spine. The second big problem is that it's so big. It was coming above my head, it was forcing me to tilt forward, and this is not very efficient posture. So wanting to do as well as I could, I wanted the best gear. And I was eyeing up a company on social media called Ruck, and their founder, Jason McCarthy, ex-US Special Forces. So I felt very confident they make the best gear. And very kindly, they sent me some of their kit to wear for my training and to wear for the fan dance. And I want to go through it with you. So starting with the rucksack, this is called the GR3. This was my secret weapon. It is a 45-litre hiking pack. And the first time I put this on to go for a ruck, I was so comfortable. I could run and shuffle with efficient posture, and that immediately improved the quality of my training. It has this very comfortable hip belt that wraps around your middle. It is really well designed to hug the body, so there's no shuffling around, no movement of the bag. It feels like it's part of your body. It packs really, really well. It opens up fully. And that's super helpful because I had to carry so much mandatory kit. There's lots of pockets there, and that meant I could pack it and access things very easily. The back panel, probably the star of the show. I mean, it doesn't look like much, but honestly, it didn't matter how much weight was in this. So comfortable, no chafing whatsoever. I mean, I hammered around the Brecon Beacons for nearly 3.5 hours, and when I came in, this was not a problem. The bag was not a problem at all. So top marks, really impressive. The next bit of kit I want to talk about is these trousers. These are called the Indestructible Challenge Pants. Now, I wanted to look the real deal, so obviously I went for the frog camo, and funny enough, the staff were joking that I had the award for the most jazziest trousers. So aside from looking really cool, they performed really well. They are really lightweight, they're very stretchy and movable, and very breathable. 3 things that are very important for this. It was a hot day, and again, 3.5 hours nearly, and I did not feel like I was overheating from the waist down whatsoever. And then lastly, we got the shoes. These are called the Mach V1. I was very skeptical about these. I love my barefoot shoes, but I was finding that when I was shuffling with heavy load, especially at a quick pace, my feet were having to work really hard, and I was getting a lot of calf soreness during and the next day. So I tried these on, I went for a ruck, had no calf soreness during or the next day. So I was sold. They have a wide toe box, which is really important for me. It means the toes can spread. I got no blisters. They're very supportive and very lightweight. I mean, again, I hammered around for nearly 3.5 hours, jagged rocks, and they look like they've barely been worn. So very robust shoe, and they did the job. And then, okay, t-shirt. This is an old Nike Pro. And I wore this because I found that regular t-shirts would sometimes ride up and expose the skin. And so this is a long line t-shirt, and that's sold for that. And then I think lastly is the hat. Just very important to get a good hat, prevent the sun beating down on your head. So that covers the kit. And lastly, I want to talk about nutrition and hydration. So 3 components there, starting with water. I have this Osprey 3-litre bladder, so I can have easy access to water, easy sipping during the entire event. That sits at the back here. I had another couple of water carriers. So I think I took on about 4 litres of water on the event itself. Next is nutrition. Oh, by the way, these pockets are separate to the bag. I added them so I could have easy access to my nutrition and electrolytes. So I use these Science and Sport isotonic energy gels. and I calculated that for my body weight I needed about 60 grams of carbs per hour. There's 20 grams of carbs in one of these. I calculated for 4 hours, so I took 12 of them and had them all. Now, I found them very easy to access and to consume on the go, so that's important. It meant that I didn't slow down in any way. I had no stomach discomfort, which some people do get, but not for me. So they worked a charm. And then lastly is electrolytes. And I had these electrolyte fast chews, and I just followed the guidance. I got these from Holland & Barrett. So I quite like the fact that I separated the water, the carbs, and the electrolytes. It meant that I could sort of manage the dose of each really well. I will say this though, I had severe cramps in my legs for the last 45 minutes or so. And it's possible I could have mitigated some of that if I tweaked my strategy a bit. There is some evidence in the endurance literature that having a combination of carbs is better. So glucose plus fructose, for example, instead of just one type of carbohydrate. Maybe I needed more electrolytes. It was a hot day. Who knows? I'll experiment a bit more next time. But that's it really. That covers the kit. And now I've covered everything. I've covered training, kit, nutrition, hydration. And I really hope that that video was of some value to you. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. Please drop a comment below. I'd love to make more content around this type of thing. I want more people to get into rucking, tabbing. I think a lot of people are going to love it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again in the next one.